Hi guys, welcome again to this session of macros and spreadsheet software, Excel. Macros in Excel are a powerful tool that automate repetitive tasks by recording a sequence of actions. Let's continue with macros in Excel. Let's understand macro in depth. A macro is a set of instructions or code written in VBA, Visual Basic for applications, the programming language used by Excel. It allows you to perform repetitive tasks with a single command. For example, formatting a spreadsheet, applying filters, or performing calculations. How to create and run macros in Excel. 1. Enable the Developer tab. The Developer tab contains the tools you need to create and run macros. It is not enabled by default, so you need to add it. Go to File Options. Select Customize ribbon from the list on the left. Check the Developer checkbox and click OK. 2. Recording a macro. Go to the Developer tab. Click on Record Macro in the Code group. In the Record Macro dialog box, give your macro a name, avoid spaces in the name, and optionally assign a shortcut key. You can store the macro in this workbook. It will only be available in the current workbook, or new workbook, available in a new workbook, or personal macro workbook, available across all Excel workbooks. Click OK to start recording. How to insert macros in Excel. Let's continue. Three. Running a macro. Go to the Developer tab. Click on Macros in the Code group. Select the macro you want to run from the list and click Run. Alternatively, you can press the shortcut key if you assigned one during macro creation. 4. Editing a macro. Macros are stored as VBA code. You can edit them to add more functionality. Go to the Developer tab. Click on Visual Basic or press Alt plus F11 to open the VBA editor. Select your macro from the list and edit the VBA code as needed. Save and close the VBA editor. Five. Saving a workbook with macros. When saving a workbook with macros, you must save it in a special format. Go to File, Save As. Choose Excel Macro-Enabled Workbook, star.xlsm. Benefits of using macros. Time saving. Automate repetitive tasks. Accuracy. Reduces human errors. Customizable. Macros can be edited and tailored to fit specific needs. Efficiency. Can be reused across different Excel files. Hi everyone, welcome to this tutorial. Today we're going to dive into macros in Excel. By the end of this video, you'll know how to create, record, and run a macro, and also how to assign it to a button for easy use. Let's get started. First, let's recall what a macro is. A macro in Excel is a way to automate repetitive tasks. It's essentially a recorded sequence of actions that can be played back whenever you need it. This saves time, especially for tasks you perform often. Before we start recording macros, we need to make sure the Developer tab is visible in Excel. To do this, go to File Options, then click on Customize ribbon. Here, simply check the box next to Developer and click OK. Here, simply check the box next to Developer and click OK. Now let's record our first macro. In the Developer tab, click on Record Macro. You'll see a pop-up window asking for details. Let's name our macro Create Student List. Now let's record our first macro. In the Developer tab, click on Record Macro. You'll see a pop-up window asking for details. Let's name our macro Create Student List. Also create a shortcut key. For documentation, you can place the description for reference purpose. Here, you can also assign a shortcut key if you'd like, for example, Control plus Shift plus F. I can specify a blank for now. Click OK, and now Excel is recording your actions. Click OK, and now Excel is recording your actions. Let's perform some actions to record. I'll select this range of cells, type the student data including roll number, name, and marks some students' data, change the font to bold, increase the font size, and give it a background color. All of these actions are now being recorded as part of the macro. Recall. Type the student data, including roll number, name and marks, some students' data, change the font to bold, increase the font size, and give it a background color. All of these actions are now being recorded as part of the macro. Once you're done, go back to the Developer tab and click Stop Recording. Now, our macro is saved, and we can reuse this set of actions anytime. As can be observed, the roll numbers and names are in the worksheet named Periodic Test 1. Now to have the same roll number and name, just open Worksheet Periodic Test 2 and run the macro. To run the macro, select a new range of cells where you want to apply the same formatting. Go to the Developer tab and click Macros. Select the Create Student List macro from the list. As you can see, click Run. Excel typed the same roll number and names of the students automatically applied the formatting, saving us the trouble of manually repeating those steps. Let's learn now macros with parameters in Excel VBA. Macros with parameters in Excel VBA. Macros in Excel VBA, Visual Basic for applications, are commonly used to automate repetitive tasks. Sometimes, a macro may need to accept parameters to make it flexible, allowing the user to control certain aspects of the macro's behavior. Here's an overview of how macros with parameters work. Macros with parameters make your Excel automation more powerful and adaptable. By passing arguments to macros, you can perform tasks dynamically, making your macros more versatile and efficient. Benefits of using parameters in macros. Flexibility. Macros with parameters allow for greater flexibility since the behavior of the macro can be controlled dynamically. Reusability. Instead of creating multiple macros for different tasks, a single macro with parameters can be reused for various scenarios. Efficiency. Parameters reduce the need to edit the code frequently, thus saving time and preventing errors. Hi everyone! In today's tutorial, we'll take your Excel skills to the next level by creating a macro with parameters. This allows us to pass specific values into our macros, making them more flexible and powerful. Let's get started. To create a macro with parameters, we need to write some VBA code. Let's go to the Developer tab, then click on Visual Basic to open the VBA editor. If you don't have the Developer tab enabled, go to File Options and check the Developer option. Before we dive in, let's quickly cover what a macro with parameters is. Normally, a macro runs a fixed set of actions. But by adding parameters, we can pass values into the macro, allowing it to behave differently depending on the input. This is useful when you want to apply the same action, but with varying data. A macro can be defined as procedure or a function in Visual Basic. A function returns a single value, whereas a procedure does not. A subprocedure is defined with the sub and end sub keyword, as can be seen. A message box is a built-in function in Visual Basic to display a message to the user. Message to be displayed is enclosed in a double quote. Let's close and return to Excel. Clicking on Macros option displays the list of created macros. Click on Run button runs the macro. The message box function displays the message that was written in double quotes. Now, let's create the macro with parameters. Parameters or arguments are input to a function or a procedure. The name of the procedure is test arguments. Now let's add two arguments A and B of integer type. to use these arguments passed to a procedure. To make things simple, let's simply display the values of the arguments in the message box function. Here the ampersand symbol is used to join or concatenate strings or string and a number. The text that starts with single quote is a comment in Visual Basic. Visual Basic do not execute it. Let's close and return to Excel. Now it's time to test the created macro with arguments. To run macro, we write in single quote the name of the macro space argument 1, argument 2. Click Run button to run the macro. Observe the message box window display arguments passed to the macro. Now let's define a function that determines the value of the identity a plus b whole square. Now select function and give it a name identity. Recall a function returns the result of computation. Clicking on OK button adds the skeleton of the function body. Let's add argument A and B to the function. A variable is name given to a memory location where data is stored. It is declared with the dim keyword. The identity formula is used to compute a plus b whole square, and result of computation is assigned in a variable named result. The result to be returned is then assigned to the function name. Let's close and return to Excel. Now it's time to test the created macro with arguments. Let pass a equals 5 and b equals 6 as arguments to the identity function. Test it again with different arguments. And that's it. Now you know how to create macros with parameters in Excel, making them more versatile and powerful. You can apply this technique to automate all sorts of tasks in your spreadsheets. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more Excel tips and tricks. Guys, thank you much for watching the video on macros in Excel. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe my channel, Paradise Coaching. Please like, share my videos, and subscribe my channel. Thank you once again. Please visit my blog for details.